Hi guys, I am here to share with you a presentation on my specialty group, and I decided to look into the AA, the Alcoholics Anonymous group. And the Alcoholics Anonymous group is a very common group kind of thing, and it's very well known, and a lot of the people kind of know through word of mouth and through media. And one of the reasons why I chose this because that is a lot of things I hear about on media, and while growing up through word, I really want to take this as an opportunity to kind of get to in depth about how everything works. But some things that I found that why an Alcoholics Anonymous is needed is because alcohol is a very strong substance and very accessible, and it is also very addictive. And a lot of people love to intake this substance, and it causes them to be impaired, and as they get to consume more of it in their lives, it can cause a lot of damage to their biological life, their emotional life, their moral life, and their community and everything. In fact, for example, one of the leading causes for car accidents is alcohol itself, and losing your life or taking someone else's life is very well involved with alcohol. It can be involved with a lot of alcohol as well, and so it is something. This group is formed to form a community to help each other kind of get over or kind of overcome this issue of the alcohol being in someone's life. And the AA is very has proven a lot of itself to really be effective, and yeah, and that's where I thought the need would be. Starting a group is very simple. There's one way you can do it is through the Alcoholics Anonymous central group and the central office. What they do is they connect you, and they actually will put your group and your location and all your information into this book here. And this book here will have all of the information and all the Alcoholics Anonymous all throughout Portland area or wherever city you live in. And this AA is definitely helpful, because wherever you live you can go a couple minutes away to join a community, whatever day fits you, and you can definitely get some help through that. A lot of people will need sponsors to help them challenge them to really go out and find a lot of these groups, and to challenge them to go to these groups. And it's actually pretty simple, because all you would need is really 2 to 3 alcoholics, and a cooperation of the AA member, and a meeting place, coffee pot, and AA literature and meeting lists, the supplies that the AA will send you. And with that, that will be good to go. One of the goals, obviously, is really the main overarching simplified goal is to really help the alcoholics to stop drinking. And they do this through various ways. They have the 12-step process. They read literature together. They share stories together, and they stay They stay connected, and their sponsors really help them challenge each other to really be accountable with each other. So the alcohol is not in their lives anymore. I believe that one of the things that could really help with the technique, an appropriate technique that I would use in a group setting of an AA, would be like a person-centered therapy. having the members be, being able to fulfill their own life and their potential is something that they should be aware of. We can help them get to know themselves in that area of their life, to really motivate them and empower them, to really bring them into a light of, I can do this, I can get over this together. And I think a person-centered therapy would be very useful to really have that technique in enabling them to get over this issue in addiction. One thing I really think another approach that I would use is brief therapy. And I thought this would be good because a lot of people don't like to spend so much time because especially in a big city, everyone is very busy and very a lot of things to do. So with brief therapy in a group, especially if it's an open group, trying to nail down as fast as you can, and to really get to the bottom of it, cut to the chase, would be really helpful for these people, and to really go into focus on the issue and the solution, rather than really taking a long time. Of course, I believe mentorship is very important, and I would definitely put in the mentorship, include the mentorship in every technique that we use in this group, through the sponsors and all that stuff. I think so. The leader's role is to provide materials and to really lead the group into a place of reading the script, reading the literature together, reading the materials together, to be educated, and also to really help keep the group environment safe and secure for them to really share about their lives. Because a lot of these people will share about their lives and how alcohol has affected them negatively. And there's a lot of emotional damage, a lot of relational damage, and definitely a lot of things that they feel very insecure about not sharing in public. And so for them to share, the leader's role, one of the things that they can do is help them and direct them to a place where they can feel safe to share all these things together. And once they get started, I think the group itself will start to run and snowball itself into a place where it'll be kind of safe. So yeah, as long as the leader starts something, I think it'll be a snowball effect where the group will start to self-sustain itself, with less of the leader's help compared to the beginning of how it was starting. One of the things I think we should watch out for as leaders in this group is what ethical considerations that we need to think about is confidentiality, psychological risks like trauma, clinical issues, making sure to report child abuse. That is a key one because a lot of times people will have their judgment impaired, their emotions impaired, and a lot of times there could be child abuse involved in this. And to really listen out for something in their stories about that, we need to be aware of it, because alcohol doesn't just damage the individual alcoholic. Alcohol can also hurt the community around that alcoholic as well. And if a child is being abused through that, it's our duty to really report that. But if we consider that, then that alcoholic may feel a little bit uneasy and a little bit victimized, and that is a consideration that we need to really know how to handle in a sense as well. Confidentiality is just as important. People sharing their stories is definitely a very heavy topic, and for us to keep the confidence together is keeps the trust going. I also think that see here, as a group leader, we have a lot of power and significant influence on the group, And for us to misuse that or not be aware of that could be definitely an ethical consideration that we need to think about, because if we misuse our power, it is definitely unethical. Simple as that. So, another thing that I want to go into is the issues in the group stages. As you know, that there are 4 stages. That there's the initial stage, transition stage, working stage, and the final stage. The 5th stage, the very first stage, is actually the forming stage. But I just covered that about how to form a group together, go over ground rules and confidentiality and getting to know one another. In the initial stage, some issues that we should kind of look forward to is that this stage is a very beginning developing group stage, and it's expected to see that there will be awkward tensions and awkward situations where members will feel pressure, some anxiety, some fear and frustration, including confusion and other emotions that are mixed in together. A lot of members will have they'll feel some hesitation. They will feel very cautious and protected. They will hold back, and many other reactions will come about too. Members will feel very fearful, and they will freeze at the sight of the thought of judgment. And getting over these problems will allow the group to go into the next stage. And the next stage will be the transition stage. And this stage, some of the issues that come up in this stage is resistance and advice and time for difficult work to be processed. And when that happens, a lot of members will feel like they need to fight with one another. They need to. A lot of things will pass by, and they may feel like it was an offense, and they feel attacked. And in this stage, we just got to see, and because the stage is this time of building trust with one another, it could be difficult for the leader to really kind of control the damages and all that stuff together. With the defensive behaviors, especially when people are sharing their issues and problems, it's easy for someone to judge them. It's easy for someone to be like giving them advice about how they should live their life and how they should really think about or treat alcohol in their life. And that's definitely something that we need to watch for as leaders. Once we get to overcome that issue together in that transition stage, it'll be the working stage. And in this working stage, we will see a lot of cohesion where people will start to work together, and people will start to trust together, and they will start to ask one another for help with one another, and they will start to figure out and empathize and be in the same page, and we'll start to move together. But some things that we should look out for is as long as we have commitment to change, there will still be lines that are still blurry between each of the stages. So we can go back to the initial stage, we can go back to the transition stage, we can go super quickly into the final stage and then come back to the working stage. We just have to be mindful about people becoming more defensive again or offensive again, or having statements that could be offensive to someone, and be culturally aware of how, as we explore different layers of people's lives, how we can be sensitive to one another. Some people can feel a little bit relaxed, and what would happen is that they would just feel more inclined to be a little bit toxic to one another. So that's something that we can look out for in this stage. Another thing we can look out for is the final stage. And in this final stage, we will help members to apply what we have learned into their everyday lives from this group process. One of the things that will be very difficult in this stage for each members to kind of get over the issue will be the feeling of separation, the feeling of closing out relationships, the feeling of not having this group together where where we should come, where we see each other every week. The anxiety in them will rise, and separation will be very difficult for many of the group members, and that's an issue that we definitely need to look for. Another thing that we can look for in the final stage is the unfinished business. Some people can lead the group with a lot of unfinished business, and they would feel left hanging. They would feel like a lot of regret after, and we just need to make sure that this will not be an issue by reminding them, continue to remind them to be aware of all the unfinished business or unresolved conflict that they haven't really overcome. And again, after the group stage, it's easy for people to go back into alcohol. And with that, with the feeling of separation and building that negative emotions all over again, can lead them back into that habit or the addiction all over again. One of the weekly topics that I'd like to talk about in this Alcoholics Anonymous or a private Alcohol Anonymous group would be, to week 1, we would go over the ground rules, get to know one another, start to build trust. Week 2, we would be talking about acceptance, accepting my alcoholism, to really be aware of what we have done in our lives to really make an negative effect in this community through alcohol. Week 3 would be to bring the body and the mind will flow. So to remind them, like, this group is very important to you. To bring your body, to just be present with your body, and everything will start to flow. And it'll be psychoeducational. There'll be a lot of material to kind of learn. There'll be discussion, time of sharing. You need to have the sessions as well. Week 4 is about how important it is. It's a discussion topic to talk about, and I believe that once we talk about it, a lot of people will start to think a lot in their brains to how to help and what they think about alcohol through their experiences. Week 5 is to talk about guilt. This emotional session will help them to kind of get together and discuss about how they feel and what their experience was through their feelings. Week 6 will be about I am responsible, and how we can talk about how we can work together to really help encourage one another that they are responsible, ultimately in the end, about how they can fix their lives. Week 7 will be about no pain, no gain. Is where we remind them that they can get through this. And although it can be painful in the end, we just got to remind each other that the focus in the end, there'll be some kind of gain for them once they are separated with the alcohol. Week 9 is wisdom to know the difference, and to really be at this end stage of knowing and learning how to make wise decisions, and to remind each other and encourage one another about how what we can do to make wise decisions about alcohol. When we want something, we become very smart, and when we really want something so bad, we will do anything for it. And especially with someone that's addicted to alcohol, they will do anything to go for the alcohol. It'll come back to them again. And wisdom to know the difference between what's right and wrong is definitely something that I believe is an important topic to talk about. Lastly, in week 10, I think trust is a big issue. Trust is like basically the foundation of any relationship. And alcohol, like I said, it doesn't just affect the individual, but also affects the community around us. And I believe that without trust, there can be no intimate relationship. And to really remind them that this isn't just for us, it's for everyone around us. And just to remind them that trust will be broken if you misuse or if you go back to the addiction of alcohol again. So yeah, I hope you learned a lot. I covered a lot about what I would do in an Alcoholics Anonymous group, and I think that it would be an awesome. It was an awesome experience to be able to go into a group and actually see what it's like. When I was in the AA group to see, I actually thought it was very encouraging, because I felt like this is what the church should look like, to be encouraging one another, empowering one another, to be vulnerable with one another, and to build this community where we can walk with each other instead of leading or pushing people or correcting people. But the Alcohol Anonymous, the AA's help is a group where they can walk together in light, and that's one of the things that I really enjoyed. So thank you for watching.